Hello there. So the tournaments have finished. I have come back home. You can see that I'm back in my study at home. And like I promised, I started to analyze my games. And as I analyze the game, I will make a video and show you the game. So first of all, before, because this is the first video of this kind, I want to make a short introduction. So, like I mentioned in some of my previous videos regarding the method of how do I plan to analyze this, well, for the analysis, I'm using just my wooden board and pieces. You can see the picture here. This is how it looks like. So I have my sheet, so my copy of this is the original from the tournament. So I write down the moves, and the original goes to the arbiter, and the copy comes to me. So this is how I have the moves. These games are not online. The organizer decided that he'll put online only the games from the first 20 boards or something. So I'm not. My games are not that interesting, so they're not online. So the only place where this game exists is in my personal collection, and I will share this with you. So I set up my board, my pieces, and I take a notebook. I don't have any electronic devices, and this is how it looks like. For example, this is the page 1 of the analysis. So I write here I write the moves, and then here I write my comments, my variations, my thoughts, and I just try to analyze the game and find the better moves, or try to assess the position as best as I can see it. Um, and this is how I do it. So this game is a relatively short game because I was much weaker, so this analysis took like four pages. Yeah, so four full pages. I expect this analysis to be much more thorough in some of the other games. And after I make this analysis without any support from the engine, then I put it in the computer, and then I turn on the engine, and then I see if I missed something, or if my evaluations and the moves which I found to be maybe better are indeed confirmed by the engine to be better. And the third step is that I plan to go through these games with a stronger player. So I have a friend in the chess club who is much stronger than me, and eventually we will go through my games. I will go through my games with him. So there is always a benefit of having someone stronger look at your games with you, and tell you some of the stuff which you have missed while analyzing games, and also the stuff which engine cannot show you, because they are more of they are connected with the correct understanding of position, and not just some tactical sequence. So this is why it's good to have either a friend who is a stronger player and who is willing to go through games with you, or a coach who can do the same. Okay, so let me go through the game. No, in fact, I want to say some other stuff before I go to the game. So, how the Swiss tournament, Swiss system works. When you have a big tournament like this, almost 200 players, and you have a Swiss system, then the first pairing, if you are lower rated, you will be paired with much higher rated player, and vice versa. If you are higher rated, you will be paired with lower rated. So the first game, I got a much higher rated player, and in the second game as well, and then in the third round I got weaker player, and so on. So this is problem when you have many players in one tournament, and there are no groups. There are no like A, B, C groups in which you can apply if you are lower rated. Then if we are all together in the one big group, then this is the problem. You get higher rated opponent, then you have a weaker opponent, then again higher, then again weaker. It's very difficult to find the opponent of your own strength in the tournament. So this is the problem. And so this first game I got a player who is a very strong player. He's 19 years old. He's a national candidate master, and by the way he's playing and he's progressing, he will very soon be national master, and I expect FIDE master very soon, because he's rising, and he's very strong. So it was a psychologically difficult game because, you know, he's younger, he's stronger, he's rising, and being much weaker is not very pleasant thing to be at the board, especially with his style. And his style of play was that he was thinking like 10 seconds a move, 10 or 15 seconds a move. So after we ended up the game, I used maybe hour and 10 minutes of my time. So I used almost all of my time, not all, but almost maybe 3/4 of my time, and he didn't lose anything. He ended up with more time that he began. So it's frustrating when you are thinking about move for like 20 minutes and then you finally make the move, and then he makes the move in the next 5 seconds. And this is this is how it looks like when you get a much stronger opponent, especially if he's young. Okay, so let me now really go to the game. Okay, I was white here. As you can see the rating here on the board. So he's much stronger than me, and he's underrated here. I think he'll be 2200 very soon. He almost he probably already is 2200 going to 23. Just looking at the strength. Okay, so I will during this analysis, because I have written everything in my notebook, I will be looking in my notebook. So I didn't see any sense to any point to write everything I written into notebook in the computer. So if I'm not looking at the camera, if I'm looking at the notebook, you will have to excuse me. Okay, so on e4 he went for Sicilian, c5, which is expected. He wants to play a sharp game. He wants just to swipe me off the board. In this first round, I played c3 because this is what I used to play before. This is Alapin variation, and I wanted to play something I know how to play. In the future, I plan to do a change of the repertoire. I'm just announcing this. Now I will make a separate video in which I will tell why, but in the future I plan to play just open Sicilian. I don't want to play any anti-Sicilians in which I run away from chess, from difficult positions. I want to face chess, I want to face difficult positions. So I will change my philosophy a little bit, and I'll speak about this in some video which will follow. Okay, so he played c3, I played c3, he played knight to f6. So this is one of the ways to face Alapin. Another way, most common way, and traditionally considered the strongest way, is d5, and another move is knight to f6, which some players consider to be even stronger than d5. But these are basically the only two moves. Any other moves against Alapin are not good because I will just grab the center. So knight to f6. I'm now just playing the theory, which I know because I have played this before. e5, knight d5. This is the only square, because he now has to be careful not to trap his knight. For example, knight to e4 would immediately trap the knight. So knight to d5, d4 now. C takes d4, and now I don't have to take immediately. I can play this in between move. Knight to f3. He cannot take because his knight is hanging. So this is just a short variation. Knight to c6. No, I have to take because well, I no longer have the reason to delay this, and I'm now currently pawn down, so I have to take. C takes d4, and now he played d6. Okay, and now right at this moment I wasn't quite ready for this. So this is like move 6. I was already confused, so I didn't know how to react to this. So one reaction is that I just ignore this threat and let him take, and then I take back. But then my pawn on e5 could become a weakness. So what happens if you have the pawn on e5? So just imagine these exchanges, and I'm left with pawn on e5. So this pawn can be either an attacking device. So if I plan to launch an attack on the king, then having the pawn on e5 controlling f6 is very useful, because he cannot put his knight. He cannot put his knight on f6, and also it can help if you can imagine that I bring my other pieces to the attack of the king. controlling f6 can be of great help. So this is what this e5 pawn is for. Otherwise, if you don't launch an attack, it becomes a weakness. Another option was to take the pawn here. So I didn't play this. I will just play this here. But then I'm stuck with the isolated queen pawn, which is not bad in itself, but I'm not confident that I know how to play with isolated queen pawn. In fact, I'm afraid of isolated queen pawn, and this is not good. This is also something I have to correct, because if you are afraid of, I think it was Tarash who said that if you are afraid of having isolated queen pawn, then chess is not the game for you. So you cannot base your decisions in chess based on, oh, I don't like playing isolated queen pawn, so I will play some silly moves and get myself in the worst position because I want to avoid something which is not bad in itself. So this is why maybe this is not even a bad move. So if he takes with the queen, I can just develop my bishop, and knight c3 is coming in the isolated queen pawn position. The key square is the square in front of the pawn, because you want to advance the pawn and you want to control the square in front of the pawn, which is weak, and so on. So here in this position, I think it would not even be bad for white. Okay, but I didn't do this. Instead, I went for the developing move, bishop to c4. And it's interesting that, yeah, I think Engine likes this move. So it's also not a bad move. But I have to be aware of my weakness on e5. He played a knight to b6, now attacking my bishop. Okay, and I naturally just played the bishop b3. So this is like some kind of natural move. This bishop is kind of controlling this knight, and yeah, it's still on this this irritating diagonal, attacking the weak square f7, and maybe it will be useful in some kind of king attack in the future. The Engine agrees with this move, but it also suggests a move which I didn't even consider in my postmortem analysis, and this is bishop to b5. So I guess this spin, and later on I can even exchange my bishop for this knight, and this solves the problem of, partially solves the problem of e5 weakness, because this knight is the main attacker of e5. So maybe I should have considered, even consider this move. I didn't consider this in the game, I didn't consider this in the analysis, and it's a forward move. So this kind of contradicts my chess philosophy, in which I want to move forward, and I want to consider forward moves first. So here I should have considered, okay, this move, obviously not, but well, what other forward move? I cannot move here, 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 so what other forward move? I have this. So this knight to b5 is the only forward move in the position, so I should have at least thought about it, but I didn't. Okay, bishop b3, d takes c5. Okay, so here is the first, let's say, critical position or critical decision which I have to make, and I took with the pawn. And by taking with the pawn, d takes c5, now I have this weakness which will haunt me for the rest of the game. And here I have written in my postmortem analysis in my notes that knight takes c5 is better, and Engine agrees. So okay, this is something I managed. This is one example in which I managed to find a better move in the analysis, and the Engine agrees. So why is this so? Well, there are several variations in, but they all come down to not having the weakness on e5. So I think he has to take the knight, because well, okay, maybe he has, maybe he doesn't have, but I'm threatening to take the knight and doubling his pawn here. So let's say that he takes the knight, I take the pawn, and now this is not so weak because I have f4 which can support it, and also this knight who was attacking e5 is no longer here. So I have solved this problem, for example. The other thing, if he doesn't want me to take the knight and double the pawns, he can play queen to c7. But yeah, I can do several things. So for example, I can just then develop my bishop on f4. Now I have discovered the attack. If he takes, I can take with the bishop with the tempo. So this is very nice position. Yeah, I do have isolated queen pawn, but I have bishop pair, which is very active. I have the open position, and open position favors bishop pair. So this would be a good variation if it would happen. In any case, I wouldn't have to worry about e5 weakness. So knight takes should be the correct move, and this is, I think, the first significant mistake in the game. So they take c5. Okay, and now I have this this weakness. He decides to exchange queens. Okay, which makes sense because we are now in the. It's not technically endgame because only the queens are up, but let's say queenless middle game, and queenless middle game or endgame favors the side who has no weakness, and this favors the side which has a weakness. So I have a weakness, so he decided that endgame is okay because I have a weakness by which he can play. He now played bishop to g4, and you can now see, well, how does it look when a strong player faces a weak player. So just look at this position, for example. So he's, I mean, nothing much happened in so far. It looks like, okay, we were just developing. I made this mistake. I captured with the wrong piece, but nothing dramatically happened. And still, you can see how his pieces are great. So these two knights, they control everything. So many squares. And I cannot take away all these squares just with my pawns. So there is a constant threat that he will somehow penetrate my position in some way with his knights. His bishop is doing something. It's active bishop. It's threatening to remove the defender, and then my e5 pawn will fall. And overall, I mean, he has good moves. He can put his rooks on the c file or on the d file. He will very easily continue development and castle. He can castle queenside if he wants. So he has many options, and all his pieces are active. And if you look at my position, it's terrible. So it's only move 10, and we didn't do anything dramatically. And I'm already, I mean, terrible. First of all, I have a weakness, e5. All my pieces except this one knight are on the back rank. So doesn't look good. The Master Feingold would say there is good and there is not good, and that this is not good. Okay, so let's go next. What to do here? Well, I realized that I can very easily lose this pawn. So I was thinking about how to try to save this pawn. He's threatening a knight to d7, and then he has two attackers. I have only one defender, and this defender can be very easily removed. So I wasn't sure what to do, so I just castled. It's a natural developing move, and the position is rather open, so I don't want my king to be so exposed. So I castled, and also the idea behind the castling was rook to e1, just to try somehow to defend this this pawn. So this is where all the troubles with my e5 pawn are becoming manifest. Yeah, there are some variations I have written down. So for example, if he wants to remove the defender, now it's too early because bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3. And now if he decides to take the pawn, I can take this pawn on g7, which is weak, and he has to play the rook here on d8, but here he's still better. I mean, he has more active pieces. He managed to control the open file, and my pieces are underdeveloped. So still, even in this variation, he'll be better. So it's yeah, in this position it's too early for him to try to win the pawn by removing the defender, but he has a variation in which he can win the pawn. At least I saw this. I didn't check with the engine all of my sub variations, so maybe I'm wrong with something. I will put the moves in the description box of the video, so if you want, you can check it with the engine. I just I checked the main lines. I didn't check everything. So knight to d2 looks like it's losing the pawn. I mean, I can try to defend it with rook to e1, but then he can remove the defender. I have to take, and then he plays a knight takes e5, and now I don't have this bishop takes g7 in between move. If I take, he can just take with the knight. He's okay. So I think here he could won the pawn, but it's an interesting thing that he didn't. So he decided not to. So him being stronger, okay, he did play very fast. Maybe he didn't feel to calculate, and he thought that he was better already, and he doesn't have to calculate some variations in order to win the pawn. So this is possible, and it's also possible that he did see the variation, but he just didn't care about the pawn. He saw that his pieces are more active and that he can make them even more active, and he just didn't care about winning the pawn. So this is I mean, as stronger is the player, he understands the importance of piece activity more and more. And if he sees the chance to have his pieces extra active, and then he doesn't care about winning the pawn. I think this was what happened. I didn't analyze the game with him afterwards, so I don't know what he was thinking, but I can guess. So instead of playing a knight to d7 and trying to win my pawn, he played e6. So he wanted to continue his development and make his pieces even more active. And now again, I was in a dilemma. Now he's giving me a move, so I can bring up two defenders to this pawn, and so now I can defend the pawn. So one defender, two defender, and now I just have this tempo which I needed to defend the pawn. So I played here bishop to f4, but alternative was rook to e1, and I think rook to e1 is maybe better defense. So one possible variation is rook to e1. Let's say that he tries to. Okay, just I have an error here in my notes. Just to correct. Okay. So let's say that he tries to win the pawn. Then what I found in my post-mortem analysis is this move, which can be interesting. Just a bishop to a4. But now he cannot take the pawn because one of his knights will be pinned. So, for example, if he now wanted to remove the defender, I could take with g takes f3, and he cannot take because I can just if he takes, I can just take, and this knight is pinned, so he will lose the piece. So, for example, this would be a possible position, but here, I mean, he's still better. Yeah, I do have f4. Maybe I can hold this pawn and get rid of this weakness, but now I have this h2 weakness. So my h pawn will be also permanent weakness in the position. But okay, this is one interesting variation which I didn't see over the board, but I did see later. Okay, so I played bishop to f4, and now I can see that well, this bishop is super passive. I mean, it's defending the pawn and it doesn't do anything else. It's blocked by the pawn. So maybe it would be even better to let this pawn go than to do all this stuff, and so to cramp my position in this way. Okay, he played bishop to e7, so he just wants to continue his development. So he doesn't care about winning the pawn. He wants to continue his development and to activate his rooks, putting his rooks on C and D file, and this is his strategy. So he doesn't care about pawn. He cares about pieces activity, and this is how you should think about. This is how you should think in chess. And okay, now it's my move. I want to develop the last undeveloped piece, and this is my knight. So I can put it on C3 or D2. I decided to put it on D2 for several reasons. First of all, I was afraid of letting go of the c4 square. So if I would play knight to c3, he could go to c4, and then he's very close to my camp. I don't like this. And also by playing knight to d2, I'm now securing that he cannot just remove the defender, because if he takes, I take with the knight and my defender is still here. So this is the reason why I played knight to d2. Engine still prefers knight to c3. So engine doesn't care. It doesn't care if he comes to c4, and it doesn't care if he can remove my defender here, and it doesn't care that my bishop is stuck defending the knight, and if my bishop is not here, I will have doubled f pawns. So engine doesn't care about any of this. He wants to play knight to c3 and get a little bit more active. Okay, I cannot say that I understand this. Maybe it's a kind of engine move because he sees 10 moves ahead, but from the human perspective, I still think that knight to d2 is more logical, because now, first of all, I'm covering c4. I'm defending this knight, and now my bishop is free to go, because I don't have to keep my bishop here in order to not to double my pawns. And once the bishop is there, I can then connect my rooks. This was the idea. Okay, he just continues castle, and now I play h3. So now I want to, by h3, I want to solve the problem here. So I don't want to have this spin and worry all the time about his removing the defender and so forth. So I just want to kick this bishop away. And the engine agrees, almost agrees with h3. In fact, it suggested h3 even earlier. So I guess it's okay. And now he plays bishop to f5. I was hoping that he will go here, and then I can play here. I'm not afraid of weakening my king because queens are off the board. So I was hoping for something like this, maybe even try to win this bishop later on or something. But he played the bishop to f5, and now you can see how, again, his position is just playing itself. It looks like all his pieces are coordinated. So you can see that, for example, he's now hitting this diagonal. So 4 squares in my camp, which are very important. He's controlling all of them, and if you can imagine him putting the knight on b4, then his knight and his bishop will be coordinated on the light squares. So it's just, I mean, this is just crushing. This bishop is so strong, especially coordinated with these two knights. So I played a3, and you know I'm much against playing h3. You can see h3, a3. So this is the sign that something is very wrong in my position when I have to play h3 and then a3. Terrible. But I had to. I mean, even engine agrees with a3. I mean, letting the knight on b4 would be really suicide. So I had to play this. And now you can see that I'm desperately defensive. My play is defensive. I'm just getting crushed, and I'm just reacting to his moves. He played just rook f to d8, so he's just activating now his rook with several traps, and everything is beautifully coordinated in the black's camp. You can see that all his pieces are active. They are all doing something, unlike my pieces, which are terrible. I mean, this bishops is just staring at this pawn, these knights, and Dvoretsky has a word for this kind of knights, which are not very good coordinated. My rooks are not even connected, so terrible. Okay, rook to e1. Yeah, I'm just trying to defend again this pawn on e5, so that my bishop can maybe leave this defensive post or something. Rook a to c8. Now both of his rooks are active, all his pieces are active, unlike mine. And now I wanted to connect my rooks and I play this bishop to b3. And you can see that this move will bring all kind of trouble. Better move here, which I did actually written in my notes, was bishop to a2. Sorry, no, I'm running ahead. In fact, I'm not. I just messed up my notes. So yeah, so the best move was bishop to e2. So here and later. So what is you'll see what is the problem with bishop to b3 later. But bishop to e2 was in fact the better move, which controls this c4 square and also d3 square. So these are the squares which I have to be afraid of, c4 and d3. And this move controls both of them. And I did find this in my notes, and then later on the engine confirmed. And you'll see now the consequence of bishop to b3. It looked nice. Okay, I have the bishop somehow, and this knight is kind of dominated with my bishop, so I can tuck it in a2 maybe if need be, and so on. But then he had some nice variations, some nice sequence of move which will completely destroy what is left of my position. So knight to a5, attacking the bishop. And now, what I was afraid of, just let me go back. Why didn't I play bishop to e2 in the game? Because I was afraid of letting go c2 square. See that c2 square he's controlling with the bishop, and also he can. This is the square in which he can penetrate with the rook. So this is why I wanted to control this c2 square. And after he played knight to a5, attacking my bishop, again I didn't want to play bishop to a2, because after bishop to a2 he can penetrate here, and I didn't like the prospect of this. I wanted to avoid this. But curiously enough, engine thinks that bishop to a2 is the best move, allowing penetration. So you can see how bad my position is when the move which allows penetration on c2 is the best move. So yeah, it's not good. If allowing rook to c2 is a good thing, is a better thing than the alternative, then you know how bad the things are here. Okay, so bishop to b3, knight to a5, okay, and now I wanted to control c2, like I said, so I played rook a to c1, controlling this. He took the bishop, I took back. And now the consequence of all of this variation is that he has knight c4. So I had to move my knight, and now c4 is free. So this knight was controlling c4, and now it doesn't. And so now you can see that he's attacking the b2 pawn, which I cannot defend because my knight is on b3. So all this variation with this capturing the bishop resulted in my knight being on b3, and now I cannot move my pawn. So how can I defend this pawn? I cannot. I tried to defend it because this was a blunder. The engine also says it is a blunder, and I saw this was a blunder during the game, and also during the analysis, because I was kind of thinking, I mean, I was completely frustrating. So my state of mind was here. I was just I just wanted this stuff to end. So by playing rook to e2, I was thinking, okay, if he attacks me, I can play here. But I obviously cannot because he's controlling the d2 square. So I played rook to e2 with the idea, if he plays bishop d3, which he did, that I will play just rook to d2. And then when he played bishop to d3, I saw, oh, but this is controlled by the knight. So I had to go back. Terrible. And now it's just a massacre from here on. So he took the pawn, of course. Just around the page. He took the pawn, and now this pawn is also hanging. I didn't see that this pawn is hanging, so I was so frustrated that I didn't see this. But even if I did see this, I mean, what can I do? I cannot defend this this pawn. There is no way. If I move this rook, he'll just penetrate. This is a terrible. If I move it forward, he'll take with the knight. So I cannot defend this pawn. So even if I did see, nothing would happen. So I played the bishop to e3, finally trying to get some activity for my bishop, who was just taking the pawn, and also some hope of counterplay by attacking his pawn. He played bishop to c4, now attacking my knight. I responded by playing rook to b1, so okay, if you take my knight, I will take your knight, and also attack this pawn. So I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to I mean, I didn't give up. I was frustrated, but I didn't give up. I tried to find some kind of counterplay, some kind of chances. I mean, there are none, but I was still fighting. And now he took the pawn, and I didn't even see this, like I said. So in the game, he take bishop takes a3. I was like, what happened? I completely missed this part of the board. So okay, I'm still fighting. So knight to b to d2. Yeah, I have to move now my knight because now this knight is protected. So if he takes, sorry, if he takes the knight, I'm just losing the piece. So knight b to d2. And now some desperate attempts. So bishop to d5. He's playing. He doesn't want to, even though he's 2 pawns up, he doesn't want to exchange pieces because he sees that he's so much more active, and I mean, all he has 2 pieces in my camp, and look at my pieces; they're doing nothing. So I now took the pawn, hoping for something, for some miracle. Knight to c4. He played. Now, okay, he wants to exchange knights, and he'll have just bishop pair. So knight takes c4, rook takes c4, rook e to d1. I'm trying something. I don't know even what exactly. So rook to a8. Now hitting my bishop, and now again I'm trying something. So I played. I didn't just run away with my bishop, but I played knight to d2, attacking his rook. So if there is any hope for me, the hope is that I manage somehow to exchange minor pieces and maybe one rook, and then end up with the end game in which we both have 1 rooks and he has this extra pawn. And this is very difficult end game, and in principle I'm not even sure that this end game is solved. So there are chances of both sides. I mean, there are chances for white to draw, and there are chances for black to win. So I was hoping to get into this end game. Although in a practical sense, him being so stronger player, I wouldn't stand a chance even if we got to this end game. So this is what I was trying. Rook to b4, bishop to e3. I had to remove my bishop because it was attacked. Rook takes, h6. Now he took my last chance. I had maybe some tactical opportunities because there was a threat of back rank mate here. So you can see if I manage to bring my rook somehow here and his rook is not here, then it will be a checkmate. So this is a very distant tactical motive, but nevertheless, him being experienced player, he just played h6. I mean, he's not in a hurry to win this position, and why risk to have some tactical opportunities in the future? And this is the position I was talking about. So let's imagine that these pieces are off the board. So imagine that these pieces are not here, and now imagine this end game. It's not an easy win for black. So like I said, I think this end game is not even solved. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's very difficult to claim that black is winning. So I was hoping maybe I can exchange these pieces, maybe I can end up in this kind of end game, and then maybe I can draw, which is of course not realistic because the player was stronger and he has 90 minutes, more than 90 minutes on the clock, and I had like much less. Okay. Knight to b3. Now I'm trying something, trying to force the exchange. Maybe he will take, maybe something with some miracle will happen. He played b5, so passed pawns must be pushed, and I played bishop to c5 again, trying to force the exchange. But this time it was a blunder because this bishop is defended only by this knight, and when he played bishop takes b3, well, I just resigned the game because now if I take the bishop, he will take my bishop and be piece up. If I take this bishop, he will take me to the rook, protecting this bishop, and he'll be the piece up. So this was this knight to c5 was a final blunder which loses the piece. And after he played bishop takes b3, which he played very quickly, I just resigned the game. Now I'm piece down. Okay. So this was it for game 1. Yeah, like I said, a much stronger opponent. He overplayed me positionally, in the opening, in the middle game, positionally, tactically, in every possible way. But still, I hope I did manage to learn something from this game. I also hope that you manage that you found this instructive. I think you should, because there are some instructive moments in the game for sure. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Look forward for my next analysis. Like I said, as I analyze the game, I will immediately make a video. So this is I so far analyzed one game out of 17, and when I analyze the next game, I will post the next video. Thanks very much for watching. See you very soon. Cheers.